Yunara is now one of the weakest ADCs for solo queue. Ashe has suddenly become the best, while Cassiopeia is absolutely dominating after her buffs. So we'll have all this and much more to break down in today's video as we provide you guys with an update to the solo queue tier list for every single role. And let's be honest, picking the best champions is fun, but is that really enough on its own? I don't know about you, but locking in Volibear just because he's OP doesn't really help if you're lacking knowledge on how to clear your jungle. However, you can begin flying through your clears at optimal speeds by using our extensive catalog of clear courses that are going to teach you everything you need to know to have you speedrunning any game below Diamond in no time. And that's just for jungle. Your mid lane OP tier Morgana pick becomes actually unstoppable when you know all the essentials of mid, like how to win lane, when to roam, how to properly play the later game, and much more, as our top 10 challenger player Strompist has worked tirelessly on this course to have you climbing in no time. Our tier list gets you the right champions, SkillCapped gets you the right skills, and we're so confident it works. If you don't climb 5 divisions while actively using the platform, you literally don't pay a single cent. So why hold yourself back this season and finally get the rank you deserve? And with that being said, let's get into it. In the pre-patch tier list, we noted that the base mana buff to Cassio was something that you should not take lightly, as more mana on Cass in the early game just leads to so much more kill threat, and she's been annihilating everyone in 25.18. Top lane Cass is arguably even better than mid lane Cass because you can more reliably take advantage of the mana buff due to playing against more melee champs. And it wasn't even just the mana buff that Cassio got, as her E damage went up as well, so the overall early game kill power of Cassiopeia is incredible right now. If we had to crown one champion in the game as the most underrated yet powerful pick, then it would definitely be Cassiopeia top lane. So if you want to try out a new pick for this patch, she's highest on our list and will be placed in the top lane OP tier. Tank top laners saw a nice indirect boost for this patch due to the Sunfire Aegis buffs, and Sion is one of them. The thing about Sion right now is that only 30% of players are actually rushing Sunfire Aegis, but it has by far the highest win rate for any rush on it. Heartsteel is extremely overrated on Sion at the moment, with 20% of Sion players rushing it, but the item is winning 3% less than Sunfire. Hollow Radiance is a completely viable alternative to Sunfire when up against magic damage, but you shouldn't be rushing anything else than Sunfire or Hollow right now. So if all Sion players just swapped over to the buffed Sunfire, he's in a really strong spot right now and is being moved up into the top lane S tier. So if we take a look at how the top lane tier list is constructed for 25.18, we've got Warwick, Quinn, and Cassiopeia in the OP tier. There were a bunch of top laners who got buffed for this patch, but our pre-patch predictions as to where they would land power-wise has played out for most of them. Aurora didn't actually lose quite as much power as we were expecting from her nerf, so she's back in the B tier. Illaoi adjustments were completely power neutral, so she will remain in the A tier. Garen gained less than 0.5% win rate from his buff, so not moving him into the OP tier was the correct call, as he remains in S. Zac top lane is a pretty underrated pickup for this patch due to those Sunfire Aegis buffs, and then Riot actually snuck in a last minute direct buff to Zac as well. His R now grants him a ghosting effect so that he will no longer get stuck on units and will just pass through everything while his R is active. So in terms of a tank top lane pick, Zac, Malphite, and Sion are all super strong options for this patch. So we noted in the pre-patch tier list that the Bami's Cinder buff would only really matter if tanks started rushing Sunfire again, or if Bami's as a component become viable to rush and sit on, and one champ who's back to excelling with the Sunfire rush is Nunu. So for the longest time, either Rockbelt or Liandry's rush had been the more popular rush option for Nunu. However, with these Sunfire buffs coming through, playing full tank Nunu is actually outperforming everything else in 25.18. It's not like going for AP builds don't still have a place, but in games where your team is really lacking a frontline presence, opting for tank on Nunu is something you should now consider. Specifically into heavier AD comps is where you'd want to run tank because Sunfire provides armor. So if the enemy team is heavier magic damage, then going for AP Nunu makes more sense. All in all, you have some really nice build versatility with Nunu right now, and we think he's one of the better solo queue junglers as a result, so we're pushing him up into the S tier. So we were pretty much spot on with our pre-patch analysis for jungle in 25.18, as the Volibear nerf was indeed not enough to remove him from his high standing in meta. We showed you guys in pre-patch how the nerf only equated to him losing about 125 gold worth of stats, so there's just no reason to drop Volibear due to the change. Briar also didn't end up losing much power at all from her nerf, so she will remain placed in the jungle S tier. As for Sylas and Kiana, they've been hit pretty hard by their nerfs and are no longer super competitive options for solo queue. Both champs lost 2% win rate, so there are so many better options to choose from moving forward. Even though the Amumu buffs were targeted at helping him in the support role, jungle Amumu has seen a nice spike in power as well. Since you max Q out second on Amumu jungle, you actually benefit from the buff in the majority of games, as you need your level 13 to take full advantage of it, and you'll definitely reach level 13 in a good chunk of your games, especially if you're in the lower elos. So it looks like players are finally starting to catch on to the strength of Morgana mid lane, as her play rate has been steadily climbing these last 3 patches, while she continues to hold a very high win rate. Because Morgana is a relatively easy champion to pick up, it's not much of a surprise her win rate has not gone down due to more people playing her, and with all this really positive data coming through, through, we're moving her into OP tier for 25.18. If you haven't been following the past few patches, Morgana's W damage was buffed on 2 separate occasions. Since mid lane Morgana maxes her W out first and wants to spam W out to hard shove waves, the buffs have added so much power to the champ. If you guys are looking to pick up Morgana mid for the first time, then our new full game commentary from our challenger mid laner Shori is a great piece of content to watch so you understand how to play her optimally. So taking a look at the mid lane tier list now, OP tier has finally seen a shakeup as Diana is no longer the only champ taking up a slot. In regards to the other mid lane champs who were changed for this patch, Azir nerfs have seen his win rate drop off 3%, so he's just such a terrible champion for the average player right now. Annie and Galio nerfs were indeed enough to remove them from the mid lane S tier, so both champs are now down in A. Hui is one of the better mid lane mages as we've got him up in the S tier due to the buffs he received. Vel'Koz is a really underrated mage pickup as well, and if you are someone who likes to queue for mid and support, then spamming Vel for this patch can work great for you. And then mid lane Qiyana is still in a pretty good spot even after the nerfs, as it was jungle who got hit the hardest by the changes. So we were a bit confused as to why Ashe was the one ADC who got buffed for 25.18, and with how impactful the buff has landed, we are even more confused now. In pre-patch, we noted that we were expecting a 1% jump in win rate for Ashe due to her buff, but it's actually exceeded that, spiking up over 1.5%. 1.5% isn't anything crazy, but it's the fact that Ashe was already a strong ADC last patch and up above 50% win rate that makes the change so significant. So there's a new OP tier ADC down in the bot lane for this patch as Ashe is moving up due to her buff. We told you guys during the pre-patch tier list that we were expecting for the Yanara nerfs to be some of the most impactful changes of the patch, and that's exactly how it's played out. Yanara was hovering right below a 50% win rate in 25.17, but with the nerfs going live, they've shaved off nearly 5%. 5% is just way more than Riot had intended, so they have already gone ahead and issued a few hotfix buffs. Base health is up from 575 to 590, and base AD has been increased from 53 to 55. Prior to these hotfixes, Yanara was a definitive C tier champ, but now that these changes have gone through, B tier is where she'll end up, as we still expect her to be a lot weaker than last patch. So the meta does actually look quite a bit different for ADC in 25.18, as Yanara, who was one of the highest contested ADC for last patch, should now be the lowest priority ADC. You should definitely consider adding Ashe to your champion pool for this patch, as she's a phenomenal pickup regardless of what rank you're in. ADC meta is actually really good for low elo right now though, with the likes of Sivir, Ashe, and Misfortune in very powerful spots. If you want some easy elo right now, then spamming some Hui bot lane is pretty free. With the buffs he received, he's a top tier pick in both mid lane and bot, so if you are a mid lane main who likes to play Hui, just queuing for bot secondary can work wonders for you. So for support in 25.18, there is a new strategy that you should be aware of that has started to pick up steam among pro and high elo supports. We covered this in our OP builds video for 25.18, but if you missed that, Redemption Rush has become very popular and is outperforming every other item in that rush spot. Rakan is the champ who's been finding the most success with it, and we are bumping him into A tier as a result. Redemption Rush is going to work best on melee supports, but it's also finding some success on a few enchanters, as these are the picks you should be running it on. Rel, Alistar, Janna, Soraka, Renata, Bard, Braum, Blitzcrank, Thresh, Karma, Nautilus, Leona, Zillion, Taric, Maokai, and Amumu. If you're wondering about champs like Melio, Nami, Sona, and Lulu, they just synergize so well with the current items they rush that they don't want to pass up on them for redemption, as Melio is great with Echoes of Helia, Nami loves her Mandate, Lulu wants Ardent Sensor, and then Sona excels with Echoes of Helia. With Vel'Koz buff for this patch, he is currently outclassing all other mage supports and is a borderline OP tier champ now. If Melio were to get nerfed, then Vel'Koz would be next in line to move up and take his slot. Amumu's support is looking quite strong as well after his buffs and will continue to be placed in the support S tier, so if you want a new melee support to add to your champion pool, Amumu is a great choice. Alright guys, one last thing, our rank up guarantee is insane. It's like signing up for the gym and getting a refund if you don't get ripped. That's how confident we are in SkillCapped. We obsess over making the best guides with top players, rigorous testing, and top tier video editing to make your climb easy. If you're ready to level up, visit SkillCapped.com and see the difference. So that's gonna wrap everything up for the 25.18 mid-patch tier list update. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.